Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Product School webinar. Thank you so much for joining us today. So, just in case you didn't know, the Product School offers product management certificates online and at our 20 campuses worldwide. On top of that, every week we offer some amazing local product management events, and we host online webinars, live streams, and Ask Me Anything sessions. So, head on over to productschool.com after this webinar to check them out. So today we have an awesome guest with us presenting. We have Nishanth Kadiyala, all the way from Dallas, Texas. Thank you so much for being here with us, Nishanth.
Sure. Thank you for having me.
So just to introduce Nishanth a little bit, he is a lead product manager for AT&T e-commerce, which is leading the company's efforts to develop an omni-channel delivery experience for their end users. His responsibilities include developing product strategy, building customer-centric roadmaps, managing business priorities, and delivering products that customers love. With a knack for technology and an unparalleled obsession for stellar customer experience, he strives to deliver world-class products that can delight customers throughout their life cycle. Prior to this, Nishanth headed the product marketing group at Progress Data Direct. His responsibilities included go-to-market, demand generation, website management, content strategy, SEO strategy, product evangelism, sales enablement, public speaking, webinars, and much more. So feel free to leave any questions you have for Nishanth in the comments here on Facebook, and we'll address them towards the end. And without further ado, let's go ahead and welcome Nishanth. Thank you again for joining us today.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Nikki. I really appreciate it. Let me go ahead and share my screen. And can we make sure that the team is able to hear me? Fine. Interesting. All right. Let me know when you see the screen.
Yep, I can see your screen. You're good.
All right. And let me get into present mode. All right. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, depending on where you're dialing from. So it's my pleasure today to talk about product management and product marketing and how they act as the yin and yang of product. The reason I chose this topic is back when I did my BA and was just about to get into business, I was trying to understand what these functions were, and there were a lot of articles comparing them against each other. But having been through both these roles in the recent past, I feel like there are certain characteristics that can help you succeed in both these roles, and that's what I want to bring to the table. Probably most guys know it, but the understanding is if you are trying to make this transition, or if you are someone who's trying to enter the product teams, this should be a good beginner guide so that you can get started with your journey. And here is a brief info about me. Nikki was talking about, I did my BTech at IIT Guwahati, got my MBA from UNC Chapel Hill. KFB stands for King Flagler Business School. I was a developer in the past. I did product marketing, and I'm currently doing product management. I worked at Virtusa in India, and I did product marketing for Okta as well as Progress, and today I'm doing lead product management for AT&T. And my hobbies are reading books. Surprisingly, I haven't read books for a while now, but this year I took it up, and I'm really glad that I picked it up. And if you guys have any good recommendations for books, please go ahead and drop them in the comment section, like be it fictional or non-fictional. I'm equally enthusiastic about both of them. And I do a lot of evangelism. For me, I'm really passionate both about the product and the customer. So for that reason, I see myself doing a lot of blogging, a lot of webinars, a lot of speaking sessions at tech conferences, right? So I really enjoy that part. And I'm a big sports buff. I love soccer. I'm a big fan of Manchester United, Barcelona, and more importantly, Lionel Messi. If there are any fans in the audience, hi there, go Lionel. And my philosophy in life, both at a professional and personal level, is make everything as simple as possible, because again, there's a lot of noise everywhere, both in our lives and both at a professional or a digital level. And that's why I believe that making things simple is the best way to go about selling your ideas the best, but not simpler, of course, because that defeats the purpose. And you have the contacts at the bottom, like I'm active on Twitter, LinkedIn, or you can reach out to me on Gmail. And if you really like any of the slides, please feel free to tag me on Twitter and do a shout out. And a quick disclaimer before we get started: the opinions expressed in this presentation are my own and do not reflect the official policy or sentiments of my current or previous employers. Examples I use in this presentation are only examples and they do not reflect my actual views on a product or a company. This presentation is intended for educational purposes only, so please pay due diligence before you make enterprise skill changes. All right, so let's get started. So let's start at the high level. So for me, product management is about building the right product, and product marketing is about taking that product to the right customers at the right time and place and the right format. So I'll talk a little bit about what I mean by that, but let's first get started with the product management side of things, right? So first of all, like as a product manager, you will be expected to have a vision for your product. And what I mean by that is, okay, you have to know your product in and out. You have to talk to your customers, you listen to industry analysts, you look at the market trends, you look at what the competition is doing. And based on that, you determine what you want to represent and what you want your product to represent in about 3 to 5 years, depending on the kind of product you have. And like in order to become the market leader, or in order to increase the profitability, or in order to stand out to your customer, it could be anything. So the vision is then going to determine what are your short-term, mid-term, and long-term goals. So you come up with the strategies to get to those points. And these strategies are already going to introduce a lot of capabilities and features in your roadmap, right? So they're going to be the big rocks and small size rocks, but beyond that, there's also going to be backlog items from the previous release, or there'll be new requests from customers or sales reps or execs, right? So more often than not, it is very easy for you to connect those features and requests to the vision and to your gut feeling, and you're able to clearly say, okay, this is more important than this. But once in a while, when the features are very close to each other, that's where frameworks like RISE become very critical. Like RISE stands for reach, impact, confidence, and effort. So you're essentially going to look at what is the value of a particular feature and divide it by the effort it would take to get to that point. And in the process, you have a more quantified approach to prioritize various features on your roadmap. And moving on to the next circle, the KPI. So KPI stands for Key Performance Indicator, and it is the most important thing that you will have to make sure that you're going in the right direction. So while RISE frameworks are more to prioritize the features, the KPIs, be it retention or acquisition KPIs, they are more about helping you understand how close you are to your goals, and then what else you need to do and where do you need to pivot. So all those things are going to be determined by the KPIs, and that's the most important thing. You as a product manager need to know what are the two or three most important KPIs for your product and continuously track them on a daily basis. There are like a lot of other circles, like you are expected to build business cases that help execs understand why you need to build a particular capability or a new idea. You should be very good at project management, and since you are the expert of the product, you'll also be expected to train people once in a while. But beyond all of this, the people management component of this is extremely important, because this is a lot of pay forward kind of relationship, and you're essentially not the boss of anyone. Like, you probably heard of this before. And the biggest problem is, okay, everyone is an expert in something, right? So if you're talking to the tech dev team, they really know the product in and out. And in those cases, you're essentially trying to represent the customer and the business and give them a new perspective. And if you're going to the business, then you're trying to represent the customer once again, but also represent the tech team. So now you've become that subject matter expert who knows everything about the product. Obviously, is not a specialist, but the fact that people look up to you to solve the problem is going to help you in the long run. And moving on to the product marketing side, you do something very similar that you did for coming up with a product vision if you're a product marketer. So essentially, again, you're looking at the competition. Again, you're looking at the data about the customer usage and looking at the support feedback, the sales feedback, and all the channels. And you're coming up with different marketing strategies to reach the short-term and mid-term goals that both you and the product manager will determine together. And that will obviously be closely aligned with the vision of the product as well. And when I say go-to-market strategy, it's essentially all the circles that you see on the right. So let's go through them one by one. The first one is messaging and positioning. It is about communicating the right value of the product based on the customer persona. So an example would be, let's say you're the product manager of a product like Uber Eats, and you want to sell the idea of Uber Eats to, let's say, a demographic of 18 to 25-year-old youngsters. So, and then you're thinking, okay, a youngster probably is more curious to try new things and is probably price conscious, right? So in those cases, you're saying, okay, the messaging and positioning could be something like a variety of restaurants at your fingertips at affordable prices. So again, appealing to their persona. Or if you're targeting someone like a 28-year-old to 40-year-old couple, then they are very conscious about the healthiness of the food, and probably they already know what they want, and they're more interested in the convenience. And at that point, you're going to message and position the product as something like fresh and delicious dishes from your favorite restaurant in a matter of one click, something like that. Again, like if you were to do a more thorough exercise, you'll come up with the actual messaging. But then the point is to appeal to the right persona using things that they really care about. So moving on to the next one, demand gen is about really working with the demand generation team and organizing a lot of marketing campaigns. It could be going to a conference, it could be co-authoring a white paper, it could be launching webinars, it could be really running third-party campaigns or PR articles. So that's what demand generation is about, and you're essentially tracking the MQLs, SQLs, and opportunities being created from these marketing campaigns, and making sure that it is continuously being optimized. And content creation, like I said, that's where my passion for evangelism came through. Like, I just love creating content, be it blogs, white papers, webinars, or representing the product at large conferences. Again, like there's like a lot of circles. I really want to stress on the importance of sales enablement before we move on, because sales reps are finally the people who are actually making money for the company, right? So it is very important that you have their buy-in before you move in a certain direction. So that's the reason you have to come up with content that is going to enable them to sell them to their prospects. So there's like different kinds of sales reps. Some of them are more product focused, some of them are more solution focused, some of them are tech savvy, and some of them are not. And in the process, you have to come up with the right pieces of content that all these people can use in order to sell it to their prospects and bring them down the funnel. And again, like your goal is to make them happy, but again, I keep saying a happy salesman is a myth, because there's always something that you can improve about the marketing funnel and the sales funnel. I hope this really sets the expectation of, okay, what's a product manager and product marketer. Now, obviously, there are like other functions that I missed over here because there's not enough circles over there. But there's also certain functions like competitive research or pricing or market research that both product marketing and product management teams tag team to get to the end line. And if there's some people out there who are like overwhelmed with all of this information, I wanted to give a very quick analogy. So think of a high-end restaurant, okay? So A product manager is like the master chef who is coordinating with the chefs, the sous chefs, the suppliers, the workers, and making sure that world-class dishes are being created on a daily basis, right? And a product marketer, on the other hand, is like the restaurant manager or owner per se, and they're the ones making sure that all of these dishes are getting onto the menu, and they're the ones collaborating with the product manager, I mean, the master chef to name the dishes, to come up with the pricing for the dishes, and communicating the value of a dish to a customer, connecting that dish to the uh, user test, sorry, user taste, and also thinking about, okay, what else is happening out there? What is the competition doing? How can I really promote my restaurant on Yelp and social media, right? So again, product managers create the product, and product marketers are selling the value of that product to the right customers at the right time. But again, like, don't be like the Gordon Ramsay or the restaurant owners that are weird in that Hell's Kitchen soup, because you cannot afford to be mad at your customers or shout at your teammates, because again, like I said, you do not own them and they do not owe you anything, and this is a very paying forward culture. You are maintaining the relationship so that you all work together for a successful product in the long run. Please keep adding questions to the comment section. I'll be happy to answer them at the end of the section. And now let's take a look at all those characteristics that I was referring to that really help people succeed at a product company and create successful products. So this is probably a highly overused term, customer centricity, but I just could not include it in this section, because again, we're talking of two functions that are most closest to a customer. And what I mean by customer centricity is, okay, when you're building or promoting a feature, you need to think about a lot of different kinds of users. Like there's like the power users who are using your product like day in, day out. There's like the first-time users. There's like the intermittent users. There's the tech-savvy users, not tech-savvy users. They're like indirect users, right? So when you're building that feature and promoting that feature, you should be wary of the fact that, okay, each feature can affect each of these customers in a different way. And while it may be solving a problem for one user, it could be introducing friction for someone else. So you have to be cognizant of all these various users and make the right decisions at every point. And the reason I put this picture is, like, it's very easy to look at the scenery and from your own perspective or from your peers' perspective or from your organization's perspective. But to be able to put yourself in the shoe of all those users I mentioned before and take an inverted view of the product as if you were the customer, that takes a lot of empathy. And that's why I really believe that empathetic leaders are the ones who are going to take a good product to a great product stage. And again, like when you're building these features, like remember that, okay, there's always going to be a trade-off. Someone's life is getting better, someone's life is not getting better. Probably you created something for usability and that is introducing an additional step before submit button. You could possibly be building something else in the meantime. So consistently think about, okay, how do you prioritize between all the different levers and make the right call. And I also wanted to talk about agile strategies, both for the product managers and product marketing managers. Like agile is the name of the game in today's world, because technology is changing, customer preferences is changing, competition is changing, the laws that the government is using is changing, and international relations is changing, right? So everything changes on a daily basis. And as a product leader, you need to be ready to shift your strategies and tactics on the fly. And that's the reason I'm using this particular scene from Friends. I hope you guys have watched this in the past. If you haven't, like, it's a wonderful show. I highly recommend that. So in this particular scene, Ross Geller, the guy who is in the picture, is working along with Chandler and Monica to move a couch upstairs, right? So at every point, you can see Ross shouting at the top of his voice saying, pivot, 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 and it just doesn't work. And this particular scene has like three really good lessons for all product managers and product marketing managers. Number one, it is about the fact that an agile leader and a few agile tools cannot cannot make an agile product. And the reason being, you're not alone in building a product. There's a whole team, like sometimes multiple teams that are working on a product launch, and it is important that you consistently communicate the value of pivoting to these customers. And at the same time, and the second most important thing from this particular scene is pivots take time. I mean, they cost money, but they also cost time and patience, right? So once you decide that you want to pivot, it takes at least a sprint or two for your team to pivot this strategy. So it is very important that you're helping them understand why you're pivoting, and then, because again, it is painful for someone to go in a particular direction and sometimes retrace their steps and go in a different direction. And this is going to be a much bigger problem, especially if you're in bigger companies where there's like dependencies on external teams to deliver products. And third and most important thing is the concept of MVP. Like if Ross were able to convert this couch into smaller blocks, it would have been much easier for him to move it upstairs. So that's the idea of MVP. You're trying to launch things in shorter and value-adding chunks, so that you're getting consistent information and feedback from the customers and from sales reps and from other channels, and using that information to pivot as and when necessary. So in order to give you a quick understanding of, okay, how does MVP and Agile work in real? The first slide, top left, that's what I created on day one. I'm like, okay, this is what I'm trying to communicate. Okay, what does product management do? What does product marketing do? And I wanted to make it gender neutral. So that was good enough. Like if everything else failed, for some reason I couldn't work with the last 2-3 weeks, that could have solved the problem, right? And then the next iteration was like, okay, you know what? The whole idea was that they need to work together for the success of the product. So I introduced that new picture in the background. And then I was like, okay, you know what? The picture is getting a lot of attention, but the idea of the actual value of the slide is going away. So I created the ones on the third and fourth slides. So over here I was pretty happy because the right product and right value is clearly being highlighted, and the gender neutrality is still coming through. And then I was like, okay, do I keep black and white or introduce color? I did some A/B testing. I asked a few people about, okay, which one do they prefer, and they said, okay, they like the regular yin and yang, and that was my favorite too. So I went ahead and created another two versions. And at this point, I was like, okay, the left one is amazing. It's like very catchy, and it would make a great infographic. It would be for like something like a Twitter or LinkedIn, but it does not necessarily fit my theme. And that's where I created the final version, where it has the gender neutral component, where it highlights the right parts of the website, right parts of the slide, and it is what I thought was right for this presentation. So if you like something, if you have some shout out, like please go ahead and tweet on my Twitter handle and let me know what you think of these two versions that I created at the end. And finally, data compass. When you have significantly different options, it's very easy for you to look at the product vision and go with your gut feeling and come up with the right option. But more often than not, you're forced to pick between several similar options, and in those cases, you must dig out for more information and more data points to make informed decisions. So, for example, if an exec comes to you today and says, okay, I need this feature very badly, right away, and then your next question should be, okay, that may be true, but your response again is about, okay, what makes you believe that UX enhancement is the most important thing, and that has to replace something else on my roadmap? What is the cost of not fixing this? Do we have to data to back up the idea that, okay, if we don't fix this, people are not doing something? So give me the cost-benefit analysis, and then I'm able to easily go ahead and prioritize that feature. Similarly, like again, if you're a product marketer and a demand gen expert comes and says, okay, we have to rerun this campaign because it was a great success last year. So get to the weeds of it. Ask the right questions once again. Okay, what do you mean by a great campaign? How many MQLs did we get? How many opportunities did we get out of this? And how does it compare with other third-party campaigns that we have run? Is there a better way to use this money? So that way you are forcing all your team members to think data first. And that is going to go a long way because that's why I really think product leaders should be using data as their compass. Just like a ship's captain, you would know what is the general direction you need to be heading in, but you always need that data compass to stay on course and make the right calls. And finally, decision making. This is probably covered a little bit in the earlier part, but I wanted to reiterate the importance of making decisions because think of all those times when you try to make a group of people pick a restaurant, right? The most often answer that you hear is, okay, you know what, I don't care. I'm good with anything. I don't want to be a pain, right? But PMs and PMMs, they don't have the luxury of such inaction because inaction is very often more expensive for your product than any of the alternatives. That's why product leaders need to be highly action biased. And if you think like, okay, you do not have enough data, or if your gut feeling is not able to help, then it's all right. Then you have to go ahead and do some sort of experimentation, run an A/B test, do some surveys, and go ahead and get the information you need to make those decisions. It's all right. It's all right to fail. It's all right to make bad decisions, but it's not all right to be indecisive because that's going to cost you a lot more, like I said. And the biggest difference that you would see between good product leaders and great product leaders is good product leaders are thinking about customers and customers alone. And in the process, you're going to hurt a lot of people. Okay? So that's why great product leaders are continually thinking of, okay, what is my company trying to do? What are the constraints that I have in this quarter? What is this leader really wanting me to do, right? So you're trying to do what is the absolute best for the customer, but while maintaining the relationships with your team and working within the constraints of the team. So again, if an exec comes today and asks you for something, you should be comfortable to say no. But obviously, don't say just like, okay, no, I don't want to do it, right? But go ahead and give him the reasoning. Help him visualize the roadmap. Show him what will you have to kick out of the roadmap if something else has to be prioritized. Give him the value-benefit analysis of, okay, this particular feature would have got me so and so money, and what is your thing going to bring me in? And again, by the end of it, relationships are very important for the long run, so you're going to have to tread that line pretty carefully. And if you're doing everything right, this is what a successful product team looks like. Because again, the whole point is a great product needs a great team. Everyone needs to be aligned on all the philosophies. They want to be agile. They want to be customer-centric. They want to be taking decisions quickly, right? And you as a product manager or a product marketer are going to actively work with all these teams in developing a culture that is as customer-centric as possible and as agile as possible so that you can consistently launch MVPs and get information in the process. But just a second. The PM is the one taking the picture in this case because I keep telling this to my friends all the way. A product manager or product marketing job is like taking a picture for my wife because usually if the picture is right, if the picture is good, it's because the environment is good, the lighting was good, the device was good, or like my wife just absolutely killed it in her boots. But if the picture were bad, it's usually because I don't know how to handle technology, I don't have any sense of photography, or I don't have the basic understanding of filters, right? So that is what most product teams are going to be like. Okay, it'll be a pretty thankless job, and it'll be hard for you to keep yourself motivated. But again, for me, I get my drive from the fact that I'm making the life of customers easy. I'm the subject matter expert for my product. I'm able to take the decisions for that will influence the product cycle in the long term. And the fact that I keep improving on the KPIs that I pick. Like if you're data centric, you pick the KPIs. If you're customer centric, just again, like the whole point is find that one thing that keeps you going when everything else isn't. Because you're going to have bad days and you will need things to keep yourself motivated. So with that, I would like to quickly end on a high note. Like I want to help you understand, okay, how can you gear for the next generation changes, right? So the first thing is develop OCD. Again, OCD means obsessively customer driven. I have Googled and no one else has ever used this phrase, so I would like to trademark this word for myself. And what I mean is like, okay, you can be customer centric, but you have to be maniacally focused on their experience. That is what is going to be the difference between you and a regular manager. You are the one who's consistently representing the customer perspective when you're talking to a tech dev, when you're talking to sales, when you're talking to exec. So you should be the one everyone looks up to really understand what a customer really feels at a given point. And the next one is like stay abreast with technology, because technology and data, they are very important for product managers. You have to understand the latest technologies so that you can ask meaningful questions or request sensible pivots so that you're able to overall improve the product strategy in the long run. It doesn't hurt to really like nurture and complement your skill sets all the time. Like pick one particular silo and be very good at it. And finally, be the champion for your product, because who else will be? Because that's your baby, right? So you know the product best. So it is very important for you to be really passionate, because that passion can be infectious. If you do it the right way, there will be other people in the organization who are going to champion your product. And to be honest, the same principle could be applicable for pictures that you click for your spouses, because develop OCD, which means like love your spouse and make sure that you are understanding their wants and needs, and stay abreast with technology, which means be good with all the Snapchat filters, Instagram filters, with Android, with iPhone. Like you never know what's going to be the next dog filter kind of a thing. So you should be on top of that. And finally, championing your product, like make sure you give compliments to the picture as well as the actual person who is in the picture. With that, I would like to thank you everyone for your time. And again, thanks for your time. Like you have all the contact information down there. Please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. And if you have any sort of feedback, I'm open to it all the time. So would love to connect. And at this point, I'll answer some of your questions. On you, Nikki.
All right. Thanks so much, Nishanth, for that great presentation. So I do have a couple of questions for you. So we have a question from Ami. And Ami wants to know, how do we handle those trade-offs? Power users versus new users. So how would you handle those?
That's a great question, Amy. So unfortunately, I have to go down the typical route of depends. And the reason being, it ties back into the vision of your product. So you will clearly know what you're trying to achieve in a short-term versus medium-term and long-term situation. And the question you ask usually is relevant to the short-term and medium-term goals. So go back to the KPIs, and there'll always be like a way to quantify things, like the one that I gave, the RISE framework. So how many power users do you have, and how many regular users do you have? So the R part of it is going to help you understand the reach, right? So how many people are going to be impacted? And then the I part of it is going to look at, okay, what is the impact on these people? And then the C part of it is, okay, the confidence. Okay, am I really confident that this is the overall impact? And will I get the buy-in of the organization? Is this aligned with my long-term strategy, or is it aligned with the organization's vision? So all of that goes into the confidence level. And then you can divide it by the effort, and then you have like a quantified version of your features. And at that point, I'm not saying the quantified version itself is going to give you all the answers, but at least in your head, you know what is right. If they're very far apart, you clearly have a winner, but usually they're pretty close. But through this exercise, you're consistently thinking, okay, how many users am I impacting, and what is the kind of impact I'm having on them? Hope that helps. Like again, like if you want to have a longer chat over this, like feel free to drop a note on LinkedIn, and I'll be happy to answer the question.
All right, thank you. And I have one more question for you. So we like to ask this question to different PMs that we have here on our webinars. So what would you do in your first 30 days as a PM? What would you tell them?
That's a brilliant question, actually. Let me take some time on this.
Yeah, no problem. Take your time.
So when I was talking about coming up with a vision for the product, I was also talking about the amount of research that goes into it, right? So again, I would call back the title, like it's like a yin and yang approach. On one hand, you're trying to learn as much as you can and become an expert on the product. And on the other side, you're trying to add value as quickly as you can. So what I would do is, number one, I would get very thorough with the product. I should have done it even before joining the company, because most products today are SaaS, and it makes sense to just play around with it and get a feel for, okay, what's happening out there. And then connect with all the important contacts inside the organization, especially above and below you, and also on the peer side. And you would want to talk to the sales staff, to the business execs who are going to drive your roadmap, to the team that is going to work on your roadmap, because they have their own velocity, they have their own technical constraints. So before you go ahead and change something, I would highly recommend that understand why things are happening the way they are, and only change those things that need to be changed. Like, I mean, that's one of the biggest learning that I've seen over the last 5 to 10 years. Like, change is really hard. Everyone is scared, like not just you as a product manager going into a new role. Even the teams are like, oh my God, I used to work with this guy. That guy was so much amazing. What is life going to be looking like with him, right? So you're trying to ease into those roles. So on one end, you're learning the product. On another end, you're learning about your teams, and obviously about the customer, like do as much research about how customers are perceiving it, look at the CSAT, look at the data out there, and get equipped with all your arsenal. Because once you start talking about vision, the first question that comes to you is, okay, if you have been here just for 1 month, how can you tell me what needs to be done? So that's the reason you're going to back it up with data and all the anecdotal references you get from all these teams, because otherwise you're just a newbie, right? I hope I answered your question, but if not, again, like I said, get in touch with me, and I'm happy to take that a little further.
No, that was a great answer. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Nishanth. We are going to go ahead and close things out. So we wanted to thank you for presenting. And also we'd like to thank everyone for joining us today here on the Product School community. So before we leave, just a reminder that we do offer weekly online and on-site events in more than 100 cities. You can also find us on social media across all platforms at Product School. And be sure to keep up with the latest product management content at our blog, which is productschool.com/blog. So thank you guys for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your day. Nishanth, thank you for that great presentation and for answering those questions. And I hope to see you all next week. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone. Like, I totally recommend Product School. Like, I find the content very useful, especially because you can hear different product managers answer questions like what you do in the first 1 month, right? You have people at Uber, at Google, at Facebook, and at all these different kinds and sizes of companies, and you get all that unique insights. So no blog or any other sort has been good enough for me, like until I started joining this session. So thank you so much for this initiative. Shout out to you guys, and again, like any feedback, please take it.
No, thank you. Thank you. Glad that you could be a part, and of course, thank you so much for joining us today and presenting.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.